Evening all. This is Backyard Observatory here. We're just playing around with a transplanted Canon Demi lens. Just going to play around with this a little bit with the weather the way it is. I'm not really going to do any stacking. For the most part, what we'll end up doing is more electronically assisted astronomy. So nothing stacked. These are all single live shots. Okay, so right now we are pointed towards what I lovingly call the summer deep sky chain. Right here is M8 Herschel Lagoon. This little tidbit right here is Trifid. Here is the Sagittarius star cloud. Right here is Omega Nebula, and right up here is Eagle. Over here is Messier 23. This little guy down in here is Webb's Cross. This over here is Messier 25. And all I'm doing is the Canon Demi is currently running at f2.8. I'm running a CLS filter, basically a broadband UHC. Not running any flats or any darks at this point. So it looks like I might be having some trouble live streaming. Hold on a second, folks. Hopefully this will work out okay. Because I think we got a bunch of other devices streaming in the house right now, so. Okay, so you guys might see this. It looks like we have a satellite flare In this part of the sky, you're going to get a lot of that. Now, my spacer is not a proper spacer, so I am off axis, as you can see. Pretty much I put the spacer together with sandpaper and Gorilla Glue. So if anybody just happens to have a spare 5mm T2 spacer, let me know in the comments, please. I really could use one. Now, I can't see, as far as actually being able to see any of this visually, what I run into is my sky glow is so bad that none of this stuff, you can see none of this stuff with the naked eye. All right, so let's move over to something else. One of the nice things about wide field is you can catch pretty much any smaller constellation and a number of medium-sized constellations, or the bulk of somewhat larger constellations. So let's go over to Hercules, and I will center dead center on Hercules, basically the heart of Hercules. We're getting there. Okay, so I'm a little off, but right there is the center of Hercules. Not sure if we're going to be able to pick it up through the clouds and haze. Actually, there we go. There's your Hercules cluster. I don't see Messier 92. Then again, as you can see, we do have clouds coming through, so. Right. I'm going to try to do a quick color balance here. I'm running in RGB mode right now. I don't think that was any better. Eventually, at some point, what I'd like to do is I would like to go through and be able to grab like a bunch of the, $100 or $50 or less legacy lenses and go through and shoot an entire series of about them, basically comparing f-stop to f-stop, how they deal with aberrations and such, and in order to help out the budget crowd a bit more. Now I do have my assistant with me tonight. Say hello.
Hello.
She's helping me find planes and satellites and stuff I might miss. But as you can see, we do have a fair bit of clouds coming through here. And this is actually kind of a fun night for to do assisted astronomy. Because this would be really frustrating to try to pull off visually. As far as stacks and imaging, it's completely useless for stack. These conditions are completely useless for stacks and imaging. But you're still able to at least, see targets and get more familiar with the sky and things like that. Are we talking to who?
Hercules.
No, we're not talking to Hercules. We're talking to anybody who just happens to watch this live stream.
Who?
I don't know. Could be anybody. Now, for extremely wide field, for wide field like this, there isn't a lot going on here in Hercules that really stands out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to head over to the Satyr region and North American Nebula, and if lucky, if we get a nice clear part of the sky, if the clouds let up a little bit, we'll even be able to pick up hints of the Veil Nebula. Due to orientation, I'm not going to be able to get good framing on all three targets, but hopefully we'll be able to catch Veil on the very edge of the frame. As you can see, even with a even with the UHC or CLS filter, not really. I'm still getting a lot of sky glow, a lot of light pollution coming through, and of course the clouds don't help. So here we go. We are there. Let's see. That should be picking up a little bit of North American, let's say the region. All right. Let's see if we can let these clouds clear out a little bit and maybe pick up a little bit more detail. Running flats and darks, it's creating a mess. And as you can see, the stars are, there's a lot of bloat going on here. This up to 20 seconds and do a little editing, little adjusting in the colors to see if we can pull out a little bit more. So we're now going over to 20 seconds. As far as gain, my gain's maxed out right now. Be able to pull something out with this. As you can see, we got a little bit of hints of structure here. The clouds definitely do not help, and me not running flats or darks doesn't help either. Little hints in through here, and of course hints in through here. This is really poor conditions to be doing this in, but to be doing any astrophotography in, but for EAA, this, we're either doing this or, you're watching somebody else's live stream, while you kind of sort of stare at your gear, or it's all lonesome in the corner. But considering that this is, as far as imaging goes, is not the best lens in the world. It's not an expensive lens. I'm somewhat pleased with the results. I think if I could ever get a spacer to get this aligned correctly, get the alignment, get it on axis, I think it would definitely do a lot better. I took some test shots with it on the necks, and it actually does really, really well when it's aligned properly, and especially if you stop it down to about 5.6, it does nice. Then up here is your North American Nebula, just barely peeking through. I'm not sure if you guys can actually see this or not. This would be your Seda region right here, and you occasionally, once when you get a gap in the clouds, you'll see little bits of structure pop out. Up here, buried behind the clouds, your Veil Nebula would be up in here. And this clears out enough to where we can actually pull in a little bit more. So again, I got then up here, just barely making it through the clouds. Now, I'm going to try for a little bit longer exposure, try to catch one of these gaps. haven't done any adjustment to the levels, but as you can see here, hopefully a little bit more starting to pull through. Again, the nice thing about this here is if you have a halfway decent camera, and a cheap little lens, you can hook that up to your computer, and even under some fairly heavy light polluted skies, with like a CLS or UHC filter, you can still pull in stuff. You can still see stuff. You can see stuff that you will not be able to see sitting outside at your telescope. With a proper flat and proper dark, this would pull out a lot better. You see this little gap here in the clouds coming through, more of the North American nebula pops up. Yeah, also picking up a little bit more here around the Seda region. Still no veil popping through, but that usually takes a bit longer exposure, even with this lens. Even with this lens at like 2.8. Clouds don't help. Now, if I was able to, if the skies are clear enough to stack this, and the alignment was on, this would pop out real quick, and so would this region here. Playing with the saturation a little bit, I may be able to pull this up some. Reasons why I went with the lens that I did. I happen to have this lens. This is kind of an heirloom camera. It was just kind of sort of sitting there in the case. The leather case that it came in was actually kind of damaging the coating, but the lens hadn't seen light in decades. So what I wanted to do was use it. Let me adjust these levels just real quick. Yeah, that's a little better. What I wanted to do was let the lens see light again, yeah, and be able to use it fairly often. So that's what I ended up doing. I transplanted it to a T-mount, not properly spaced, but a T-mount, and then a real shallow T-mount to next adapter, and did that. Not stacking anything. Yeah, this is about as good as I'm going to be able to get. Looking at the live stream, the colors are kind of off a bit. There's only so much I'm going to be able to do with that at this point. Let me go ahead and move over to another target, and then we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Now, even though it's fairly low in the sky and pretty deep in my dome, we're going to go ahead and wrap up with Cassiopeia. Hopefully we'll be able to pick out some of the nice little fuzzies, even with it being deep in the dome and kind of low in the sky. You're on your way to astronomy school?
Yes, but I'm
already at astronomy school? That's cute. That's cute. Okay, so look here. This is Cassiopeia. These stars here. Okay?
Okay.
These stars here, that's the constellation Cassiopeia.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Daddy's going to adjust the image a little bit, and hopefully we'll be able to see a little bit more, okay?
Okay.
All right, so I'm bumping up the exposure to 20 seconds here. And then we'll adjust the histogram stretch afterwards. Now, as you can see, we got a really strong glow here from the city. They are doing the LED, over in the Norfolk area, they are doing the LED transition. So even with a CLS or a UHC, you're not going to be able to block this out. Real shame. Because because if implemented correctly, the use of LEDs would have significantly reduced light pollution. But politics as per usual. Now down here, here's double cluster. I doubt we'll be able to see it, but let's see. Heart and Soul Nebula should be up over here, just at the edge of the frame, but I doubt we're going to be able to see it. You can see here we are picking up some of the open clusters here in Cassiopeia. I'll zoom in real quick. As you can see, my focus is off as well. That's one of the frustrating parts with the lens, is actually being able to get proper focus. Plus, I didn't do proper focus after I dropped the CLS on there. Another satellite. Another satellite here. Now, one of the fun things is Cassiopeia, for the most part, is overlooked by a lot of amateur astronomers. But there are actually a lot of deep sky objects in Cassiopeia. You got a number of open clusters. You have double here, or double cluster here. Let's see, you'd have Heart and Soul, and a couple of other nebulae in the region. Over in this region, you'd have Pac-Man Nebula. Star region, right around this star region here, you have Cassiopeia Nebula. Unfortunately, we really can't see it with the way things are right now. Especially, like I said, with it being low in the sky and all this glow coming in from the city. Because this is all LED light. Now, for those that do live in highly light polluted areas, you kind of know what I'm working with here. I don't have everything dialed in or anything, but go to light pollution map and look up like the Norfolk, Virginia area and look at the light pollution there. And this is actually what I'm shooting through, what we're looking through here. And you'll see how bad the light pollution is in my area. And what I'm trying to say here is, even if you do live in a highly light polluted area with the right filters and inexpensive gear, and the filters don't even have to be super expensive either. With the right filters and fairly inexpensive gear overall, you can still see a number of things. Granted, you have to do it essentially, video, live stacking, things like that, but you're still able to see things that normally you'd never know were there if you try to do it visually. Now, a little deeper in the dome is Andromeda Galaxy. You might be able to pick up a little bit of fuzzy out of that. I will head over to that and see if we can't pick that up, and I'll make that the endpoint. But I mean, as we can see here, there are still some there are stars here that would be difficult. There are stars and deep sky stuff here that would be difficult to observe visually in a highly light polluted area. Fuzzy here. As you can see, the further east I moved the point of the mount, the larger the glow is coming in from the city. But that is Andromeda Nebula right there. So even with the clouds and the LED glow, we're still able to pick some of this stuff up. Fighting the sky glow, but now one of the fun things with this, if you are playing around with wide field and want to shoot, a very wide field like this, one of the nice things I think with wide field is, even with something that takes up a large part of the sky, like Andromeda Nebula, if we were at a dark site or something, and we're able to stack this, it gives you an idea as to just how immense the night sky is, how much stuff there is to see. So again, for those of you that live in highly polluted, light polluted areas, there is hope. You can see a number of objects with fairly inexpensive gear and the right filters. So on that note, I'm gonna call it a wrap, and you guys have a good night.